In Season 4, the Lobsters hatched a plan to collaborate, work together, and use their newly drafted rookies to give themselves a chance at the championship. The Lobsters were in the DFC Red Division, which was home to the two-time champion Orlando Hurricanes, who had taken it home in Season 1 and in Season 2. They'd been a strong team, Boston had been, in the past 3 seasons, boasting a 13-7 record in Season 1, a middling 11-13 record in Season 2, but they had a ton of success in Season 3, the season before what we're talking about. They had taken home the conference championship, and they had a record of 14-10. In that conference championship game, they barely squeaked past the Gears in a fistfight of a game to make it to the Digital Bowl after a huge touchdown sealed it. However, when they made it to the Digital Bowl, they lost in heartbreak to the Chicago Windstorm 20-31. That day lives on forever in Windstorm history as a day of triumph and celebration. But it would live on, at least for a little while, in Boston, as a disappointment, a smear across of their claws. Now they knew that they'd need to upgrade across the board and be creative to get back to the Digital Bowl next season. So what was the plan? Firstly, the draft. Boston hit big on a number of defensive rookies. They contributed 4 new players to the defensive end. Aubrey Sassy Snout, Marissa Wacky Muffin, Justice McIntosh, and Jagger Rogers Schultz, who I will refer to as JRS from now on to make it easier. All these 4 rookies were amazing players, and they were ready to contribute to winning on the defensive end. So that part of the plan was simple enough. Fit in their new draftees, Wacky Muffin, Sassy Snout, JRS, and McIntosh. Secondly, they had a smart idea. They took a player who seemed unassuming, Dina Becker. They had 2 amazing traits at quarterback, but their star rating was rather low, those traits being QB dreams and strong arm, which would both help at the quarterback position. But they had an idea. They would use the bench press vote that all teams had available to them to make that player better over time. Now, the way that that vote worked at the time, for context, was every fan of that team could contribute to the bench press vote, and the more fans that contributed, the more gains you would get. So you had to have your whole fan base involved, not only voting on this vote, but voting on the same player. You had everyone on the same page. Boston realized this and the amazing potential here, and they picked a player with amazing traits instead of amazing stats, and decided to boost up those stats as much as possible. During the regular season, the defensive improvements were massive. Over the entire season, opponents only averaged a meager 15.1 points per game, which was an incredible feat. The Lobsters recorded 3 shutouts as well during the season. They had a 28-0 game against the Poops, and then in a back-to-back series to finish up divisional play, they scored a whopping 57-0 against Las Vegas, and in the next game, 39-0 again against Las Vegas to finish up divisional play. Their record was 16-8, a strong record leading into the playoffs. To start the playoffs, the Lobsters didn't have Dina playing yet. They still had her on the bench for one more bench press vote, so they'd have to fight the Hurricanes without her talents. They still managed to win 43-21. Their defensive upgrades were very obvious in this game. Going into the conference championship, they finally had their chance. Last time they'd faced off against the Gears, they'd won by 1 field goal, 3 points. But this time, they unleashed their secret weapon, and Dina came out onto the field, shocking everyone. After items were applied to Dina, she was a 10-star quarterback, the highest possible rating in the game at the time. Their plan had worked. But would it pay off? Would they win the game? Yes, it absolutely would. With their new quarterback leading the way, they made short work of Detroit, winning 39-13, 26 points. That's 4 scores. They upgraded from winning by a field goal to by an Abraham Lincoln. Now, on the other side of the bracket, in the VFC Conference, leading up to the championship, the Houston Blasters would be their opponent for the trophy. The Blasters were very confident, and they showed that confidence. They posted screenshots in the community Discord of massive all-in bets on Houston to take it home. Multiple thousands of tokens just by the Blasters fans. This screenshot here shows the total betting amounts on either team a little bit before betting close. Boston was a clear underdog, and Houston was confident. But Dina and the new defensive rookies were not to be underestimated. The Lobsters set the tone early with a huge 24-0 lead just in the first quarter, and the Blasters showed only a little bit of fight in the second quarter, which ended 27-7 leading into halftime. However, coming out of halftime, the Blasters brought it back within striking distance, ending the third quarter 27-20. But Dina and the new defensive talents were not to be trifled with. They shut down the Blasters, they couldn't score another single point, and they managed to take home their first Digital Bowl victory, 32-20. Some perspective here. Boston unveiled a powerful way to utilize the bench press vote by focusing on lifting up players with good traits instead of focusing on players with good stats. Their teamwork and dedication to not let their Season 3 disappointment get to them alongside their amazing draft, is what led to their victory. Today, in Season 8, many of these legends still have great relationships, from Wacky Muffin, Sassy Snout, JRS, Macintosh, and Dina Becker. Also today, Jackie Stark Rowland, JSR, not to be confused with JRS. JSR was part of that championship squad as well. At the time, they were a little older. You can see that they started playing in Season 1, but they're only 28 at this point in time. They were much older back then. They were given the de-aging scroll in the Season 8 Undefined Mystery into the Phoenix Sanctum. If all of this sounds interesting to you, you should check out the Digital Football League at the link in the description and start playing today. Become part of the story.